Hi, it's me, Tracy, your literary and tea time companion, and we're walking down a slightly different path today with a reader's favorite songs tag. Do my reading tastes match up with my musical tastes? Let's have a look, or rather, a listen. This is a reader's favorite songs tag, an original tag created by Greg at Another Bibliophile Reads. Thank you so much, Greg, for this very fun tag. And I saw my lovely friend Pat of Book Chat with Pat participating in this tag a couple of weeks ago, and I thought that I would jump in on the fun of this one. And for the prompt, Greg says, people read. They often listen to music as well. Do readers' choices in music reflect their preferences in reading? As a reader, what songs interest you? Let the viewers decide whether musical tastes match reading tastes. Name a few of your favorite songs. There's no need to put them in a specific order unless you would like to. There's no minimum number of songs required. People tend to resist being bound to a set number. Don't overanalyze each song choice. A brief comment will be sufficient. I'm saying songs, but interpret that broadly. There are many kinds of music that might not fit the strict definition of a song. Go with whatever feels right for you. In a previous video earlier in the spring, I did talk a little bit about my musical tastes or preferences in relation to reading. So I will link to that video below if you would like to see that, if you hadn't had a chance to see that one. I will also make an attempt to link to music videos or other information about the songs that I'm talking about today. And I also thought that I might approach this in a way that does offer favorite songs, but I'm being a little flexible with this because if you've been here for a little while, I'm not always about the favorites. There's a lot of things that I enjoy so much, and I enjoy sharing that, be it books or music too. It's hard to pick the number one favorite of this or that song or book because that has fluctuated through my time of living. So I thought that I might approach this as an interesting exercise in looking back on my life with music. So there will be a few favorites on here, but also just sort of reflecting the time period, what I was listening to, what I was enjoying. So I thought that I would start with a very popular song from the year of my birth, 1972, and that would be Let's Stay Together by Al Green. This soul R&B song is just so beautiful. Al Green's voice was just really just so beautiful. There's just such a lush arrangement to the song, and it's kind of a classic love song now. And for good reason. It's just a really, really beautiful song. This song kind of represents a little bit also what a style of music that my parents listened to, sort of R&B, a little bit of soft soul sounds. They were very much enjoying things like the Motown sounds of the 50s and 60s. So that was sort of the musical exposure I had when I was really, really quite young. And so that was 1972. So we're going a little bit in time now to 1975, One of These Nights by the Eagles. Very well-known American rock band. And this song, One of These Nights, it still sounds as impressive now as it did then, and you're going to want the album version of One of These Nights, not the single version, usually not the one that they play on the radio, which cuts out the intro and the fade out. You need that rumble, rocky intro to appreciate the whole song and fade it out at the end. I love this song so much. I remember being a rather small child in the backseat of my parents' car and hearing this song. And I guess I've been an Eagles fan almost since birth. So I love all their songs. I love some of that that 70s rock sound. Segueing a little bit now to what would be the very early 80s, I have very vivid recollections of visiting an aunt and uncle's house and my cousins listening to Billy Joel. And I remember the album Glass Houses and the hit from that album, It's Still Rock and Roll to me. They were playing that one. They were also playing Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen from the 1975 album, A Night at the Opera. So there was a bit of a mix of 70s and early 80s there. And I just remember really just being impressed by that music. It was different than what I was exposed to at my parents' house, for instance. So it was a little bit of an enlightening moment. The exposure to some different music. It was very exciting. I was very young, but it was very exciting. And also during that time, I was still in elementary school, and I remember some songs on the radio from British pop bands, Promises, Promises by Naked Eyes, and Time, Clock of the Heart by Culture Club. So sort of moving gently out into recognizing songs that I liked on my own, beginning to be less exposure from others and more beginning to listen to the radio and understanding what it is that I like just for me. And so a little bit into the early 80s still here. I'm the track Pale Shelter by Tears for Fears. I've been a Tears for Fears fan since what feels like forever. And this particular track was the first one of theirs that I heard. I was about 12, hardly 13. And that was from the 1983 album, The Hurting. I really loved the sound of this rather different synth pop rock band. They just had a different sound than some other things that were on the radio at the time. I really loved the introspection that they brought, as well as maybe sometimes some darker themes, like just how I liked the lyrics, how they explored how difficult it is with this human experience. So I've been a Tears for Fears fan all the way, still am. It's it can be 10 years between their next albums, but always worth the wait. Still sticking in the 80s a little bit. We're working towards the mid 80s because that was sort of really my time for discovering music, which is not unusual. You're in your early teens, and I think that's really a time when you are really discovering what is yours, what sound that you enjoy. The Perfect Kiss by the British synth new wave post-punk band New Order is one of my favorites. That particular song just really takes me back to the 80s, and there's just such a joyful quality about that song. It has I don't even know how to describe this song. You have to listen to it. It's just such a beautiful experience, and it makes you want to dance. It makes you want to move. It just makes you feel great to be alive. And The Perfect Kiss, I mean, it just makes you think about love when you're young as well. Also in that time period, I was discovering the music of Irish rock band U2, and I particularly like one of their earliest albums, War. The song Drowning Man is one that is just so exquisite. It makes you want to cry. It's just so beautiful. And this album, War, also contains some of their very early iconic hits, Sunday Bloody Sunday and New Year's Day. I'm a real fan of especially U2's earlier works. now we're making a little bit of a departure from sort of pop music. Classical music, I love it very much. I always have. I had a couple of teachers in school, in my earlier school life, that were music teachers that were really, really great. And that's how I came to be exposed to classical music. That wasn't something my parents listened to very much of, for example. That was not a kind of music that was in the house when I was growing up, for instance. So I came to appreciate that a lot on my own. And Johann Sebastian Bach's cello suites was one of my first early classical music experiences. And cello suite number 1 in particular. I was a PBS, NPR, National Public Radio junkie from a very early age, my very early teens. And I heard this on the radio, Yo-Yo Ma's recording of the solo cello suites, and it just made such a deep impression on my heart. And it's one of my favorite classical music pieces to listen to still. And keeping in a classical theme also would be the Protecting Veil by the English choral and religious music composer John Tavener. This is a really beautiful composition for cello and strings that has Orthodox Christian themes, specifically celebrating the Orthodox feast of the Protecting Veil of the Mother of God, which commemorates the apparition of the Virgin Mary as the Theotokos. It's just such a hauntingly beautiful piece of music. Again, I heard that on the radio. I stopped everything. It was just that amazing, and just the tears. Just it's so beautiful. It made a great impression on me then, and it just thinking about it makes a great impression on me still. You really need to listen to Yo-Yo Ma's recording with the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra. It's just so beautiful. I keep saying beautiful a lot, but it really, really is. We're moving on a little bit in in the 80s, and back to teachers. Chicago song by David Sanborn, the saxophone player. This song is also a fond memory. My music teacher in 8th grade. He was a teacher during the day, but at night he played in a jazz band. And his class was very much about music appreciation. And he gave us exposure to a great many things, classical music, jazz music, as well as current music. And some current jazz music was David Sanborn's Chicago song, which was playing a lot on the radio then. So it was just so funny to think back to that, and you could hear his classroom before you got to it. The music he was always playing music. It was a great time learning about different kinds of music then, that song would be considered smooth jazz. I have never liked those kinds of definitions. Smooth, it just sounds like it's trying to dumb something down, and it really isn't. And I learned that from my 8th grade music teacher as well. Keeping on the jazz note, Summer Lovers. This comes from the album Topaz by the group The Rippingtons. And this particular album, Topaz, has a lot of Latin American themes, which make for very exciting, beautiful, undulating rhythms. And this was during the later part of the 1990s and the early to mid 2000s that I was very much in a jazz frame of mind. It was this sort of a soft jazz sound. I was really enjoying that, along with music with world or international influences, music with international influences. Moving more into the 90s now, the song "Wood" by Alice in Chains. That is such a great song. I liked a lot of the grunge the grunge bands of the 1990s. Alice in Chains, Candlebox, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, the Foo Fighters, Stone Temple Pilots, Red Hot Chili Peppers. There were a lot of great bands in the 90s. Stuff with a bit of heavier sound, heavier themes, a harder edge. It's good stuff. I still enjoy it. I still enjoy it now. I would say that possibly at the moment my current listening enjoyment is probably something a little bit softer. I am finding that I'm still enjoying very much the music through the decades of my life. I do find that a lot of times on the daily, I am enjoying something that's a little bit softer, and things like ASMR sounds, maybe some nature sounds along with that, and as well as something like the hand pan, which has a lovely sound. So I'm very much enjoying Malte Martin. I'm probably not saying his name correctly. I'm sorry. A handpan musician, as well as Julia, Change of Colors. They both have channels here on YouTube. I will link to theirs as well. I love the music that they create, and I often have that on in the background while I'm working, or while I'm writing or creating a pattern or editing a video. I'm preferring something a little bit softer while I work these days. I just feel like my concentration maybe needs something a little bit different these days. Something that I also do enjoy, though, as a bit of a flip side, when I feel like it, is a dark folk or neo folk music, which does have folk music origins, but they're often in a heavier minor key. And some of the bands that I like in this genre are the Canadian band Ulvesong. Again, I will try to link to what I can. I don't think they have produced any music currently, though, unfortunately. I really loved their album Ulvesong, named after the band's name as well. As well as also in the Jupiter, Suelo, and earlier work by October Falls. It's a fun genre, blending sort of folk themes but with heavier sounds, and sometimes it can border onto dark metal. I know October Falls is now producing a very much more heavier black metal sound, for instance. So it's just, music is so interesting. I love the places that we can go with music, and it wouldn't be it wouldn't be right not to mention TG's music, would it? These are his headphones that you see in the thumbnail. They're actually quite too big for me, really, but I thought they were fun for the thumbnail. When TJ and I first knew each other, it wasn't very long after that when we were still writing letters to each other, he sent me a cassette tape of his music, and we still have it. It's a fond memory, him sharing music that he created with me, and he's still doing that. And he creates music for the channel. This little YouTube project of mine has now sometimes become a joint effort, in that he offers some music, which I really love. I love his music. I admire his ability to be able to do that. I know very little about music. I know what I like personally to listen to, but I've never really learned music. I played the violin very briefly when I was 8 years old. I didn't really get the hang of that too well, but I've always loved music in one way, shape, or fashion. And I think music is a beautiful gift to be able to share. So I've really enjoyed thinking about this one and putting this one together. I'm not sure how my musical tastes fall in line with my reading tastes. I'll be interested to hear what you think about that. I'm still thinking about that one myself, so I'm glad I didn't really exactly have to pair books with music for this one. I think that could be a little bit difficult, but I really had so much fun with this one today. Thank you so much, Greg. Fantastic tag. Thank you for this. And I thank you, Pat, for inspiring me to come on here and share some of my favorite songs and remembrances along with you. And so I hope that you will share with me what your favorite songs are. What are your favorite songs through your life? What does your life in song look like? I hope that you will share with me in the comments. Thank you for being here with me today. And as always, I wish you so much love and many blessings. Until soon, bye-bye.